Well, hey there, and welcome back to Tempting Fate Tours. So, yeah, it's been about 3 months since you've seen a video from us. Life and cars and driving kind of intervened this summer. We drove some old British cars. We drove at least one new car that looked like an old car. We drove some weird cars via our Tempting Fate Tours. We drove some Japanese cars, and inevitably, we drove an MGB. More importantly, we drove the Snake. It's Route 421 in Tennessee. You may have heard of Tail of the Dragon. Well, the Snake is the Tail's big brother. 489 curves in 33 miles. A haven for sport bikers, Harley bikers, and people driving old cars of absolutely every variety, including, in our case, about a dozen 30-odd-year-old Japanese cars. We have a lot to catch up on, but before we dive into that, we have a request. If this is your first Tempting Fate Tours video, welcome, welcome, welcome. We hope you'll have fun here. Please hit the subscribe button. If you're one of our regular viewers who's already subscribed, get your friends to subscribe, and here's why. We have about 500 subscribers as I record this. Once we double that, once we get to 1,000 subscribers, YouTube takes us a whole lot more seriously. And hopefully, we can continue to find more like-minded weirdos. When we last left you, Tom had just gotten his 55 Morris Minor Traveler, which had been our LA garage find, back to New Hampshire. The first thing he did was remove JD's motorboat engine. He and his wife Beth were kind enough to let us work on the old car in their driveway, so he had a motorboat engine that needed to come east. We'll just leave it at that. Tom burned a lot of midnight oil with an anxious eye on the clock because he had to take the head of the car to the machine shop, put in new valves, get it all refitted, and make sure the car ran well enough. That meant the rest of his to-do list really didn't get done. But he packed up the Traveler with tools, spare parts, oil, the black and gold California plates, and so forth, drove it into his trailer, drove the truck and the trailer to the shipper's warehouse near the port of New Jersey, and sent it on its way. We got the lowlight running eventually. It turned out that the gas tank had to be drained, and so Tom did that, fiddled with some other stuff, while John replaced the 75-year-old tires, and it turned out our friend Richard in England really wanted those 3 Dunlop tires, just like the ones that came on the car out of the factory. So along with tools and oil and paperwork and manuals and whatnot, they were packed along, of course, with the traditional Tempting Fate Tours Hello Kitty blanket. And that one too got delivered to the port in New Jersey. But what does it take to ship a car from the US overseas to somewhere else? Now, a couple points. This is only going to be about our particular experience, but it does generalize. The first thing you have to do is find a shipping agent. Ask for references from anyone you know who may have sent a car overseas. We ended up with a company called All Shore Forwarding, and a very nice lady named Susan who walked 2 really clueless British car owners who were eager but had no idea what they were doing through the entire process. There are several documents you're going to have to provide to your shipping agent. You'll need an employee identification number for reasons I've never understood. Tom had one, John didn't, but it turns out that it's really easy to apply. You will need to send them your ownership document, either the title or, because it didn't have separate titles for cars until about 1980, in the case of New York State, the registration of the car, and whoever has assigned registration owns the car. Needless to say, we were a little nervous about sending those documents. They arrived with the cars safe and sound. They've done this before. You will also need to send them a confirmation of the place you're going to stay, in our case, a reservation at the campground, and a confirmation of the event or your plans for the car while it's in the other country. And finally, you'll need to send them a power of attorney to act as your agent in shipping the car, taking it through customs, etc., etc., etc. Again, Susan walked us through this, We sent a package of paper for each car and each of us. They had the cars, and then we took a breath. The other thing you'll need to think about is insurance, because very likely your car insurance, especially if it's old car insurance, will not apply if you take the car out of the country. So we ended up getting liability insurance from a company in Germany that does this kind of thing. It covered the entire EU plus the UK. And since we were landing the cars in the Netherlands, which is part of the European Union, and then putting them on a ferry and shipping them to the UK, which is not, having both of those areas covered was very useful. The last thing you need to know is the equivalent of American AAA that do breakdown services will only deal with cars that are registered in that country. Probably an insurance thing again. So essentially, our rule was to stay in close touch with other Morris Minor drivers who were going to this event, carry tools, and basically try to be as self-reliant as possible, helped by the fact that the Minor is fairly simple. The non-local license plates, in our case New York and California, will attract some attention, and in fact twice we got stopped in the Netherlands by some very nice young police officers who just wished to confirm that we were not in fact Dutch nationals. If you are a Dutch person, driving a car with non-Dutch registration is apparently illegal. But they were very polite, and I think somewhat baffled by the cars. So anyway, that's what it takes to ship a car. The last question, of course, is, so what does that cost? The answer we've been giving is, it's 4 figures each way. It's more than a mortgage payment, but it's less than a good used car. But everything arrived on schedule, and the basic thing is to find your shipping agent, because a good shipping agent will make it all fairly seamless for you. That's it for now. Next episode, we will unpack the cars in Holland and tell you what happened, because that was when the fun began, including, inevitably, a flatbed truck. Thanks for watching. Follow us on all of the usual socials. Please subscribe. See you next time.